Figuring out how much you owe for your water usage during the month can be very complicated. But we're going to look at some charts that will help us to make it a little bit more understandable. Now, the first thing to remember about paying for water in the city of Seattle is that you have to pay a base charge for the water. In other words, you have to pay for the city of Seattle to provide water for you. The city of Seattle provides pipes underground that go to your home or your apartment building, and there's water in those pipes and it's ready for you if you turn the water on. Your base charge is paying for that. That means that even if you never turn the water on, you still have to pay the base charge to the city of Seattle. And this first chart on the screen is that base service charge, how much each home has to pay for water, even if you never use it. If we look at the chart, we can see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4 columns. And those columns are water pipe diameter, and then inside the city of Seattle, outside Seattle, and then 2 other cities, Shoreline and Lake Forest Park. So you might wonder, what's the difference between inside Seattle and outside Seattle? If your address is Seattle, Washington, then you live in the city of Seattle. If you're outside Seattle at a place like Tukwila, for example, or Burien, you're outside Seattle, and so your charge is different. The city of Seattle provides water for you, but you're going to have to pay more because you don't live in the city of Seattle. Now, the water pipe diameter depends on how big the pipe is. So you could have a smaller pipe or a larger pipe, and more water goes through it, and that's why the charge is different. In terms of rows, we have 1 row, 2 rows, 3 rows, 4, 5, 6 rows. And those rows depend on the size of the pipe. For our exercises in class, we're going to use this 3/4 inch pipe because that's the most common used. So if I look at this chart, what I understand is that if I live in the city of Seattle, I pay $15.15 every month just to have the city provide water for me. So that's the first part of my charge. If I want to figure out how much I need to pay for a bill, I have a couple things happening here. I have the base charge plus the water charge. Those are 2 different things. For me in the city of Seattle, this base charge number is going to be, let's see, here's the 3/4 residential size, and here's the inside Seattle cost. That means it's $15.15. Oops, $15.15, and that's going to be my base charge. Now the water charge is a little bit more complicated. For the water charge, I need to go to a different table. It's right below that one. And here is this idea of the residential commodity charge per CCF. Now the CCF is 100 cubic feet. 100 cubic feet. When we pay for water, we pay for each CCF. So there's a charge for 1 CCF, 2 CCFs, 3 CCFs, etc. And again, I can see that I have 4 columns, the water usage, and it says seasonal. That's interesting. Inside Seattle, outside Seattle, and Shoreline and Lake Forest Park. Notice that's the same as the base service charge table. Inside, outside, Shoreline and Lake Forest Park. Same thing down here. Inside, outside, in Shoreline Lake Forest Park. But over here in my rows, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows in this one. These are our, and here it says off-peak usage, September 16th to May 15th. So that means that water in September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, and part of May has one price, and that is $5.15 per CCF. But notice that in the other months, the second half of May, and then June, July, August, and the first half of September, there's a different price. These are different prices. It tells me here, May 16th to September 15th, May 16th to September 15th, May 16th to September 15th. And the first row was September 16th to May 15th. So this is all one price. But there are 3 different prices for May, June, July, August, and the first part of September. Notice this tells me that I can use up to 5 CCFs per month, and the cost is $5.29 for each one. But if I use more than 5, I have to pay a higher price for the next CCFs of water that I use. In fact, for the next 13 CCFs, I have to pay $6.54 for each one. If I use a lot of water and I use over 18 CCFs, so 18 and a half, 19, I have to pay $11.80 for each one. The price really goes up. So let's look at an example. I live in the city of Seattle, and I just got my water bill. It's February, and I used 12 CCFs of water. How much will I need to pay? Well, I know that I will have to pay the base service charge, right? And I know I will pay the base service charge plus the water charge. And I'll add those together, and that will equal my total water bill, right? That'll be my total water bill. I know because I live in the city of Seattle, my base service charge. Let's see. Let me go back up to my chart. My base service charge per month. I'm residential. I live in the city of Seattle. So my charge, my base service charge will be $15.15. So I'm just going to type that in here, $15.15. And I will put my plus sign there. I know it's coming. And now I have to figure out my water charge. So let's see. It's February. It's February. And if I look right here, February comes between here. September, October, November, January, February, March, April, May. So March comes in here. So I know that my charge per CCF is $5.15. And I used 12. I used 12 CCFs of water, and it's going to cost $5.15 for each one. So let's see. I used 12 CCFs. I used 12 CCFs. And the CCFs are $5.15 each. I have a choice. I can say 5.15 plus 5.15 plus 5.15. I can do that. Or I can do something a little bit easier and just multiply. 12 times 5.15. And that's going to tell me my total charge for water. Here's my calculator. One thing you're going to find on some of the calculators on the computer is that there is no X for multiplication. Instead, you have to use this symbol right here. So I'm going to take my 12 CCFs and multiply that by $5.15. And my answer comes out to $61.80. So that's what this is, 61.80. So my base service charge is $15.15, and my water charge is $61.80. So now I want to add those together. My base charge, $15.15, right there, plus $61.80. Oops. 61.80. And I can see that my total charge is $76.95. I have my base service charge plus the water charge, and that equals $76.95.